not as heavy as recent days. Sunshine in between, 26 Celsius the high in the southeast, with low 20s further north and northwest, or high teens. Some moderate to heavy showers crossing Scotland overnight, and then the main area of rain pushes into central and southern parts of the UK. Again, turning more showery, some heavy downpours by the morning, particularly towards East Anglia. 17 Celsius in the southeast, so reasonably warm, but clearer spells further northwest, and so a fresher night to come. And further showers arriving into central and western Scotland, Northern Ireland by dawn. Those showers also affecting northwest England by the end of the morning. Any early rain clears out of the way from East Anglia in the southeast, though, and so for the southern half of the UK, it's mostly dry by the afternoon with sunny spells, feeling warm in that sunshine, low to mid-20s, whilst 18 to 21 Celsius more likely for Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England, with a freshening breeze later on Friday and some strong winds in the west of Scotland overnight as we start the weekend. Further showers coming along as well, but mostly dry to the south, and actually it's mostly dry on Saturday in southern parts of the UK, with further showers and a blustery breeze further north. Sunday starts dry with rain later.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me.
And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
And welcome to today's edition of On the Money, where we're focused on the UK's cost of living crisis, helping you to beat the squeeze. I'm Liam Halligan. For the next hour, we'll be talking about those A-level grades and stiff competition to reach university, with many of our top institutions awarding huge numbers of places to lucrative overseas students. We ask, does university still make financial sense? Plus, we've the very latest on the nationwide rail strike, and we dip into the biggest UK motor show for more than 10 years. Vroom, vroom. On the Money, after the GB News headlines with Rhiannon Jones.
Thank you, Liam. Good afternoon. It's 1 minute past 1. Your top stories from the GB Newsroom. A-level results are out, and grades received by students in England, Wales and Northern Ireland are lower this year than the last 2 years. They do, however, remain higher than pre-pandemic levels, the last time students physically sat exams. Meanwhile, the number of students accepted onto degree courses has also fallen by 2% this year, but it's still the second highest rate on record. Education Secretary James Cleverly said there's support in place for students following the results.
We wanted to get the grades back towards the kind of levels that we saw pre-pandemic. We've taken a big step in that right direction. 2/3 of students getting their first or reserve place at university, and that is great. And for those students who haven't quite got the grades that they were hoping for, and that happens every year, there's a whole range of support both at school, university and at clearing to help them get onto a great course for them.
The Secretary-General of the RMT union says there'll be waves of public sector workers joining in with strike action amid rising inflation and falling wages. That's as rail, tube and bus passengers face further travel disruption amid 3 days of industrial action over pay and conditions. Well, our national reporter, Paul Hawkins, is at Euston Station for us this morning. Paul, just how much disruption is this latest strike causing?
Rhiannon, same as last time and the time before that and the time before that. Only 1 in 5 trains are running. Most of them started the day just after 7:30. They'll be finished by 6:30. You're advised only to take the train if you really have to. You look at the station concourses, they're pretty empty at the moment as well. In terms of what both sides are saying, the unions on one side, Network Rail, the train companies and the government on the other, both sides are pretty much at deadlock really. One side is saying, look, we're going to give you a 5% pay offer. The other side is saying, no, we're not going to. Cheers for that advice. Is the other side? The other side is saying, look, we're not going to accept that pay either. But yeah, that's it. We'll probably leave it there for now. Thanks, Rhiannon. Sorry about the language if that came across as well.
Paul Hawkins, our national reporter there outside Euston. MP Margaret Ferrier has pleaded guilty to breaching COVID regulations in September 2020 at Glasgow Sheriff Court this morning. She admitted travelling by train between Scotland and London despite being told to self-isolate. She also admitted to willfully exposing people to the risk of infection, illness and death. A 44-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of murder following the stabbing of Thomas O'Halloran in West London. The 87-year-old grandfather was stabbed to death whilst riding his mobility scooter in Greenford on Tuesday. Former Labour MP Stephen Pound paid tribute to his former constituent, describing him as a huge character.
He'd sit there holding court in the cafe opposite Tesco's in Greenford, and it was like his mobility scooter was like a throne, because he'd be sitting there and people would be coming up and he'd give bits. When I was an MP, he used to give me lots of advice, and not always advice that I wanted, but he was always there. And such a high-profile, sweet, gentle man who the last thing he did on earth before he was killed was to raise money for Ukrainian refugees in need. That was his last act.
3 people have been killed, including a teenager, in severe storms in Corsica. 45,000 homes have been left without electricity after hurricane-force winds hit the French island. A 13-year-old girl was killed when a tree fell at a campsite. A 72-year-old woman died when her car was struck by a beach hut roof. And the third victim was killed when a tree fell on a house. The mother of 12-year-old Archie Battersby is campaigning for a new law named after her son. Holly Dance is calling for a change to the system regarding end-of-life cases. Archie's family made multiple court appeals to continue his treatment, but he died on the 6th of August after being taken off life support. Speaking to GB News for the first time since her son's death, Holly said cases like Archie's are taking their toll on families.
There's been another baby, his life support was withdrawn 2 days after Archie. There's another case that was in court yesterday. It's the stress placed on us by the system. It's something that's got to change. We've written to the Health Secretary, so moving forward to see what we can change. I think the whole thing that you're rushed into court, that's got to change.
And scientists have found evidence of an asteroid crater beneath the North Atlantic Ocean believed to be 66 million years old. It's thought to have crashed down around the same time as the asteroid that wiped out dinosaurs. Researchers think the crater, found off the coast of Guinea in West Africa, was caused by a 400-metre wide asteroid. Remarkable. This is GB News. We'll bring you more as it happens. Now, though, let's return to Liam with On the Money.
And coming up on the money, it's A-level results day, of course, and the number of top grades is sharply down on last year, but still up on pre-pandemic levels. Despite controversies over grade inflation, competition for places at top universities is stiff, not least given the huge number of lucrative overseas students who pay much higher fees. We ask, is a university education still worth the cost and the time? As ever, On the Money holds a grown-up discussion with people who really know their stuff. Plus, over 40,000 rail workers are on strike today, and with union bosses warning of industrial action until we reach a settlement, there's surely more industrial action to come. And with job vacancies still high, the government wants to help over 2,000 adults with learning disabilities and autism move into work. We talked to a government minister, quizzing them on how the scheme would operate in practice. And today's In-Depth Money Talks interview is with social media guru Amelia Sordell. She's created a successful business during lockdown. Good on her. She's now advising thousands of companies how to grow their brand online. We meet her later in the show. And as ever, I want your questions, opinions, ideas. What do you think of the issues raised in today's On the Money? How do they impact you? Let me know. GBViews at gbnews.uk or tweet at GBNews. I'll read some of your messages. This is GB News. I'm Liam Halligan, and you're On the Money. Now, today's A-level results show a record fall in top grades after students sat external exams for the first time in 3 years. There are around 60,000 fewer A and A-star grades awarded as the government tries to clamp down on the record grade inflation during the pandemic, when grades were assessed by teachers. The share of A and A stars fell to 36.4%, down from a record 44.8% in 2021. But this was still much higher than 2019 before the pandemic, when just 25.5% of grades were A or A star. So this year marks the biggest fall in the share of top grades awarded on record, but there's still strong evidence of longer-term grade inflation. Having said that, many students who worked hard for their A-levels will be disappointed today, having missed their grades. Getting to a top university remains highly competitive, not least given the huge numbers of places now given to overseas students, particularly among the UK's most prestigious Russell Group universities. At Birmingham, 20% of students last year were from overseas. At Bristol, it was 19%. The mighty Cambridge and Durham, they gave almost a quarter of their places to students from abroad, 23% and 24% respectively last year. At both Edinburgh and Manchester, it was 33%, a third of students from overseas. At Oxford, it's 21%, and it's 32% at Warwick. Now, don't get me wrong. Overseas students enrich our universities and boost Britain's soft diplomatic power. But with foreign students typically paying 2 or even 3 times more, some of our top universities may now be chasing the coin, with university vice-chancellors then receiving massive remuneration packages worth hundreds of thousands of pounds a year. Imperial College and University College London have 49% and 54% foreign students respectively. They're both centres of scientific excellence. Really? Surely more places should be reserved for UK-based families who've paid UK taxes, often over multiple generations. The bigger question's this. Given student debt and rising living costs, is university financially worth it anyway? For many school leavers, apprenticeships and other forms of vocational training, or just getting in there and learning and earning on the job, may make more sense. And with thousands of students disappointed at their A-level results today and competition for higher education places soaring, that's our On the Money question. Does going to university make financial sense? Today I'm joined once again by Lynn Grimes. She is Director of Student Recruitment at Birkbeck College, University of London. Great to have you back on the show, Lynn. And Gareth Jones, he's Managing Director at Incom Training. That's one of the UK's leading providers of engineering apprenticeships. And she's back in the studio, Jasmine Birtles, founder and editor of moneymagpie.com. Great to have you with us, Jasmine. Let's hear from you first, Lynn. Now, Birkbeck College, an extremely distinguished place of learning. Birkbeck specialises, doesn't it, in students of older years with respect, maybe combining a university degree education with work because you provide lots of evening classes and so on, but it's an unashamed place of academic excellence. So make the case for university, because some kids this lunchtime, as they look at their A-level grades, they may be disappointed, they may be in two minds.
They certainly might. Birkbeck, actually, we are a completely evening university, so all our lectures are in the evenings. So we cater for working students or working Londoners, or from the London now stretches quite a long way. We cater for those that are working or have family responsibilities or just want their daytime free. So we have a mixed bunch now. It's not completely mature. We do have young people, and our phones have been as busy this morning as any other university. But you're right. The costs, as we discussed earlier this week, the cost of living has made it out of reach for some students, unless they stay at home or unless they work alongside. And whilst most students have always worked on a part-time basis or a small job basis to supplement their university experience, they're now looking at full-time working with doing a degree in the evening.
Gareth Jones, let's turn to you. Now, you are an unashamed champion of apprenticeships, of vocational training, of perhaps not going to a traditional university to do a traditional academic course. A lot of students, and particularly a lot of parents, may turn their nose up at that. Why are they wrong?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, vocational learning is an absolutely fantastic way to get into your chosen career. So you're earning while you learn, but more so you're imparting the knowledge that you're actually taking on and gaining the experience to get true competence in the field that you've chosen. So from day one, in terms of an apprenticeship here in the advanced engineering manufacturing sector, we've seen a massive resurgence with over 200 vacancies, and to have a strong economy, you've got to be making product. And with the reshoring of engineering manufacturing, we need to ensure that vocational learning is actually coming to the forefront and bringing people through into this. Now, competency is the key word there for apprenticeships, and there shouldn't be ground on. So people coming out with their A-level results today, I know there's a lot of stigma there that if people are coming out with the wrong grades perceived, that then they should look at apprenticeships. Well, that's not the case. If you're coming out with A stars at apprenticeships, and we've got people here today that have exactly got that, they'll go on to higher apprenticeships, HNC, HND, degree level apprenticeships in aerospace, automotive, oil and gas. It's an absolutely valid career choice.
Jasmine, when you and I opened our A-level results, because we didn't go online, did we? Because the internet didn't exist. 7, 8, 9, 10% of students, of young people in the UK went to university. Then we had the sort of Tony Blair era, halcyon days of we want half of all youngsters to go to university. That seems to be waning now, a sense that university isn't for everyone, and it isn't for everyone, is it? But there is still a graduate premium on earnings.
Well, there is, to a degree. And I think what the situation we're at now is that it's right for some people, it's not right for others, and it very much depends where you're going and what you're doing. There are so many courses that I see that I think, well, how can that be a degree course and B, worth the money? And I think this is the point that students need to, or people who are thinking of going to university, really need to think about what their future is going to be, because for many people, they would genuinely do better setting up their own business. It really isn't for everybody, and it really does cost now. So they have to look at the cost benefit, definitely.
And just before I move back to Liam, what do you think of those numbers that I outlined at the top of the number of foreign students? Now, you and I, we come from a relatively unflashy backgrounds. We went to Oxford and Cambridge, respectively. We worked really hard at school. Would we have got in if in our day Oxford and Cambridge were giving a quarter of their places, roughly, to lucrative overseas students?
Yeah, it's a very good point. Now, I've got a friend who was a lecturer at a London college where they let in so many foreign students. They would have ones that couldn't speak English. And when she went to the bosses and said, I'm going to have to fail this one, they said, no, don't. because they are so lucrative. When you get to that stage, really, honestly, you are not a proper academic institution. And I'd like to see some sort of governance, you know, something from maybe a government level to check what these places, you know, tertiary education places are doing. And as you say, yes, I'm sure it is pushing out potentially good British students, just from a point, you know, the universities will say that, oh no, it's all on academic.
But they get 2 or 3 times more fees from the foreign students, don't they?
It's. I mean, I understand it. I run a business. You'd be thinking, oh, should we just bring that one? Yeah, that'll do for 3 times the money. No, I do understand it.
Lynn, do you think there's an issue here? I say again, I totally get that foreign students, overseas students, make our universities better and bolster their reputation overseas. But, you know, a lot of UK-based families, having paid tax here for generations, may well feel aggrieved.
They may well feel aggrieved, and we don't do that at Birkbeck. Our international strategy is not to fill places with international. It is to have that balance, because, as you so rightly say, they do bring a lot to the party, international students, and it's a good learning experience. But they have. We have very high English levels, and we do not let students in unless they have those levels. So it's not good for any university to admit someone who's going to fail, and if their English isn't up to it, then they're not going to get through the course. They won't understand the learning. So I can understand that people may feel aggrieved. I have to say, I agree with both Jasmine and Gareth. University is not for everybody. And I think they're pushed sometimes into it from school or from peer pressure or parental pressure. And sometimes it is not the right, especially for those people that have a vocational leaning. And Gareth is absolutely right. If you know, someone wants to get hands-on experience on something like engineering, what better than doing an apprenticeship?
And indeed, Lynn, a good option for some students who are disappointed this lunchtime may be to get into work and then maybe do a degree later in life, in your mid-20s, in your late 20s. And indeed, Birkbeck is the exemplar of a place, not only you can do that, you're designed to help people to do that, aren't you? We'll leave it there for now, because we're going to come to a break, but we are going to carry on this important discussion afterwards. This is On the Money with me, Liam Halligan. We will keep this discussion going with my expert panel. We'll also be crossing over to the British Motor Show in Farnborough, the largest car show in the UK since the early 2000s. Stay with us, and you might even get to see Ellie Costello failing to get into a car. Stay with us, you're On the Money.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club. Oh, my goodness me.
And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of 2 wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
And welcome back. It's 1:21 and you're on the money here on GB News TV, DAB plus digital radio and online. It is A-level results day with thousands of hopeful students looking to get accepted to their top university choices. But the bigger question is this: given student debt and rising living costs, is university financially worth the candle? I'm still with my expert panel. Let's go back to you, Gareth Jones. You are Managing Director at Income Training. In your mind, university isn't for everybody. There's a lot of vocational training out there. There's a lot of apprenticeships out there. What opportunities are available now, right now, for people who are having second thoughts about university, whether or not they've got their grades?
There's an absolute plethora of opportunity available to youngsters at the moment, whether they have or haven't got their grades. As I say, talking about us in the advanced engineering manufacturing sector, we've currently got 201 vacancies, and just to give you an example of the criteria there, we've got a youngster in the workshop behind us. She was at a private school and she was due to be going to, after her A-levels, due to go on to university. She actually, because she wanted to get into engineering manufacturing, she steered towards the engineering apprenticeship on the advanced level. And then by her employer, she's been promised a degree apprenticeship by the age of 20, where she'll be earning £30,000+ a year, and also getting the degree that she wants in the sector that she wants it. So it's more than a valid career choice. And going back to that, finance gets chased throughout the educational establishment, right from GCSE school level, secondary school level, struggling to get into, say, year 11s to offer them the opportunities to apprenticeships and other established routes into their chosen career path. And schools don't want to see us doing that. They want to keep them on at sixth form to be able to justify their monetary value moving forward. But then also they want to see them progress more so into university, because they see that as more elitism for their figures, when really we've got more than a credible choice here and the opportunities are absolutely amazing. So monetary does play a key part throughout the educational system.
Very interesting, Gavin, and how apt that you're joining us from Telford, of course, in many senses the birthplace, literally, of the Industrial Revolution. Lynn, a quick word from you before we finish off with Jasmine. Sorry, we are a bit pressed for time. What do you think of this whole notion of grade inflation? Of course, the headlines today are that there's far fewer A and A stars being awarded. We're down at 36% from 45% last year, but it's still a lot higher than pre-pandemic when it was just 25%. Surely it's a good thing. It's the real world if only a quarter of kids are getting one of the top two grades. Otherwise, A-levels, they lose their value, don't they?
Yes, they do. They do, in exactly the same way that a degree loses its value if 75% of the population get one. It's as you alluded to, Tony Blair's 50% have to be in higher education, and as we've said, it's just not right for some people. That education doesn't suit them, and so yeah, it's a difficult decision for these people. But grade inflation, I hope this is the start of it settling down. I think they had to give a little bit of leeway this year because these students had not taken GCSEs. Yeah. So I think being down 30% is almost a good thing. It's evening it out.
Jasmine, there are a few questions, there are a few issues in British politics and life in general that are a bigger conflation of class and anguish and money and social engineering than education, particularly higher education, right? Do you think we're starting to get a little bit more sane in this area? How great is it to hear from Gareth Thomas about top A-level students going on to do degree apprenticeships. Our manufacturing sector still, the best part of a fifth of our economy. It's still with top 10 in the world. We have to bolster it, get our best people in there doing that stuff rather than doing useless stuff financially in the City of London.
Well, exactly. And I was just thinking of this as Gareth was speaking. We, as an economy, we need more plumbers. We need more engineers. We need more people actually doing something useful. And I think it would be really good for young people who are thinking about going to university or going to some sort of tertiary education to really think about the figures as well for themselves. For example, I've heard at the moment, and I do understand this, that there are quite a lot of students who are thinking of putting off going to university until next year. Understandable.
But you think there may be an issue with that?
There may be an issue because at the moment, with the loan, you can not pay after 30 years. If you continue to work and earn less than 25,000. Then and less than 27,000, then you don't have to pay after 30 years. From next year, it's going to be up to 25,000, and you'll have 40 years to pay. So that's that you have to pay it.
Yeah. So there's a slight financial whiz-bang in the future, potentially, if you defer for a year.
Exactly that. And that's a shame, because I do agree that it would be, given the cost of living at the moment, it would be actually very sensible for a lot of people to put off so that they can actually work for the next year. Mind you, if you did that, you might find that you're enjoying what you're doing and you might end up not going to university, the one that you were thinking of, and actually doing better.
That's the kind of key insight we get from MissMoneyMagpie.com, and that's why she's on the show. Jasmine Birtles, great to have you with us. And thanks to my other expert panellists today, Gareth Jones, Managing Director at Incom Training. Good luck to you, Gareth. And Lynn Grimes from the fantastic Birkbeck College of the University of London. And what I would say to all people who are watching, who have got their A-level results today, if you are disappointed, it is not the end of the world. It may feel like the end of the world, but things happen for a reason. You will make your way, make your own choices and stay true to yourself. Now, this year's British Motor Show takes place in Farnborough. It's the largest car show in the UK since 2008, with over 250 exhibitors, over 25 manufacturers, and new vehicles being launched, including the first opportunity to see in action a British-built electric van. There'll also be motoring and stunt displays alongside classic and supercars. Our GB News South East of England reporter, certified petrol head Ellie Costello, is there. Ellie, I mean, you look good. You look particularly good in that car. Can I just say that?
Thank you, Liam, but I will say I'm not a fantastic driver. We're going to see a clip very shortly of me as a passenger, and it's safe to say I'm not a very good passenger either. But welcome to the Great British Motor Show, the biggest one since 2008, and I am sat right now in a Caterham 7. It's silver. I'm very low in here, and if you like the look of this one, it's going to set you back £28,000. So it's definitely one for somebody who likes their cars. So lots of fun to be had here, but also very serious conversation about the future of the car industry, about sustainable fuel and about the focus on electric vehicles. I spoke to the Chief Operating Officer of Caterham Cars, Dave Ridley, earlier.
The future for us has to evolve, and we have to consider our carbon footprint and what our contribution to that is. And there are other biofuels coming through. There's obviously EV technology, and Caterham has to move with the times. I think the industry is going through that process now, and there's obviously a lot of adoption from the larger OEMs. But I think biofuels have a part to play in that, and I think people are going to have to just appreciate that we're learning. We are learning, and the next decade is going to tell us an awful lot. Yeah, I think in our world, we make a niche sports car that's used for pleasure. So I think we're less affected by the price of fuels. People are not using a Caterham for commuting. I think you accept that our car is a pleasure product, and with that comes, the price of fuel. So I think, we're different to other OEMs in that regard. But yeah, the rising price of fuel it's impacting everybody.
And Ellie had a particularly scary test drive by the looks of things.
And this is Sam. She's going to be the driver today. She's a much better driver than I am a passenger, I think. Oh, it's low. Hello. Very good.
Crikey, shaking hands. I like the sunglasses, though. Thank you to all my guests today in that early discussion. Thanks to Ellie Costello for that wonderful footage from the Farnborough Motor Show. This is On the Money with me, Liam Halligan. Coming up, industrial action kicks off again with approximately 40,000 workers at Network Rail and 14 train operating companies striking over job security, pay and working conditions. Our national reporter has the story, but first it's the GB News headlines once more with Rhiannon Jones.
Liam, thank you. It's 1:32. Your top stories from the GB newsroom. Top grades for A-level results in England, Wales and Northern Ireland have fallen since last year. They do, however, remain higher than pre-pandemic levels. Meanwhile, the number of students accepted onto degree courses has also fallen, according to UCAS. But it's still the second highest rate on record. Former Vice-Chancellor of the University of Buckingham, Sir Anthony Selden, told GB News it's right that grade inflation is down.
Grade inflation, like inflation, household and the country knows at the moment is not good. I mean, inflation devalues what has gone before. So there's no doubt that it's right to get the percentages of grades back to where it was before COVID. That's right, but it's also true to say that it is a big hit on this current generation.
The Secretary-General of the RMT Union says there'll be waves of public sector workers joining in with strike action amid rising inflation and falling wages. Rail, tube and bus passengers face further travel disruption amid 3 days of industrial action. 80% of train services will be affected today as more than 40,000 workers walk out in a long-running dispute over pay and conditions. A 44-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of murder following the stabbing of Thomas O'Halloran in West London. The 87-year-old grandfather was stabbed to death whilst riding his mobility scooter in Greenford on Tuesday. Police say the arrest was made as a result of the CCTV images released yesterday. And MP Margaret Ferrier has pleaded guilty to breaching COVID regulations in September 2020 at Glasgow Sheriff Court this morning. She admitted travelling by train between Scotland and London despite being told to self-isolate. She also admitted to willfully exposing people to the risk of infection, illness and death. TV Online and DAB+ Radio, this is GB News.
Direct Bullion sponsors the Finance Report on GB News for gold and silver investment.
Here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.207 and €1.185. The price of gold currently stands at £1,467.20 per ounce.
Direct Bullion sponsors the Finance Report on GB News for real-time investment.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh, my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
And welcome back. You're on the money with me, Liam Halligan. Now, over 45,000 workers at Network Rail and 14 train operating companies are on strike today, again, as the ongoing dispute over job security, pay and working conditions builds up even more steam. Unions are calling this the biggest dispute on the UK's rail network in decades, and 80% of services are disrupted nationwide, with passengers being advised to travel by train only if absolutely necessary. Well, earlier, GB News spoke to RMT Union General Secretary Mick Lynch. He denied that unions were holding the country to ransom.
We're making demands on our employers. What the employers have said to us is that we want to make thousands of your people redundant. They won't even give us a number, but we believe it to be in excess of 5,000 of our members to be put out of work. They want to create changes to our contracts of employment, which is a version of fire and rehire, because there'll be worse contracts than they've got now. We haven't had a pay rise for 2 or 3 years in many cases, and they want to attack our pension schemes. It's our job as a railway trade union to defend railway workers' rights. I think most people understand that. But we get many messages from the public, from the travelling public, fellow workers, people on our picket line here at Euston, who are saying we're really in tune with you because we're being treated the same way, or we've been robbed of all those conditions. The British working people are not getting a square deal off their employers. That's all we're asking for. And we'll support other workers. People say, oh, why don't the nurses get what you're getting? Why don't the teachers get what you're getting? They'll all be coming into this debate in the next few months. Many of those workers will be balloted by their trade unions because they're sick and tired of rich people, old Etonians, telling us that we've got to pull in our purse strings and just put up with a cost of living crisis and job insecurity, and we're not prepared to do that. We want dignity and a bit of respect off the employers and off this government. They've got to change their tune and get in tune with what working people need in this country.
Well, Paul Hawkins is live outside Euston Station in central London, where that picket line is, for GB News. Paul, you've been down there a while this morning and lunchtime, fighting talk there from Mick Lynch. What's your sense of the public mood as people are going past? What's your sense of the resolve of those standing on that RMT picket line?
In terms of resolve, Liam, from those on the picket line, absolutely steadfast. They're not budging. They're not talking about maybe they could give way here in the negotiations or give way there. They're sticking with it and they're backing Mick Lynch all the way, not just from the RMT members, also TSSA and Unite. In terms of where the public stand, it seems like the public are adapting to this situation. I mean, look at the news agenda yourself. I mean, we look at train strikes, it's dropped down the pecking order. When they announced the first day of industrial action earlier in the summer, it was top story. Now it's kind of dropped down a little bit because people are adjusting to it. Oh, what's happening? Oh, it's another day of strike. Oh, right, okay, fine. So people are adjusting to it. And when you look at commuter patterns, we know that less people are commuting anyway, and a greater share of those smaller passenger numbers are also travelling by train, and people can work from home. So people are making adjustments. That's not to say it isn't having an impact, both on the train operating companies and businesses. We heard from one business in the Midlands that's had to close for the day because it simply can't get people into the office, and people need to be in the office in that business for it to function. So it is still having an impact on the economy. It is still having an effect on train companies, but people are able to put up with it for now. In terms of the negotiations themselves, well, Network Rail are due to sit down for another 4 days of talks next week with the unions. As far as we know, the train operating companies, this is according to my contact at the TSSA, says that train operating companies aren't due to sit down at all with the unions and continue with any sort of negotiations. At the moment, nothing's happening in terms of that dispute. The train operating companies, according to the unions, have been told by the government not to make any offer. They would deny that, of course. In terms of Network Rail, there is an offer on the table, 4% plus a little bit more over the next few years, but unions are saying we're not having any of that. and we don't like the conditions that come with that anyway, such as switching from a mixture of night and day working to purely night working. They're saying that their members would simply, that's not what they signed up for. The impact on your health is too much if you work exclusively nights, and we're not prepared to do that. Something also to bear in mind, Liam, is that, of course, fares are pegged to, I think it's July RPI, and so when they announce fares are going to go up, and they'll make that announcement soon for January, that's going to be, what, around a 10% increase in fares? We'll see how that goes down with the public as well.
Well, indeed, Paul, and it's worth saying to travellers, from my experience, I can tell you this, the fact that there's a train strike today means that services will be disrupted tomorrow morning as well, because trains will be in the wrong places. And then there's another national rail strike on Saturday, on August the 20th. And tomorrow, to add to the gaiety of the nation, or at least the gaiety of the capital, that is Friday, the 19th of August, there's a tube strike and a bus strike to keep us all happy. Paul Hawkins at Euston Station for GB News. Thanks a lot for joining us. Now, the UK still has over 1 million job vacancies, we learned earlier this week. Why are we not filling vacant roles with willing workers? Well, a new £7.6 million government initiative has been launched to help over 2,000 adults with learning disabilities and autism make the move into work. Funding has been granted to 24 local authorities in England and Wales, provided by the Local Supported Employment Initiative. This follows government targets aiming to see 1 million more disabled people working by 2027. Well, I'm joined to talk about this by MP Chloe Smith. She is Minister for Disabled People, Health and Work. Minister, you're most welcome on The Money. Thank you for joining us. This seems like a good initiative, but some people who are suffering from disabilities, they may feel that they don't want to work. They may be worried about their benefits being cut. Can you reassure them that they won't be forced?
I certainly can give that reassurance. This is a scheme that is for people who do wish to work and who are in a position to take a placement, receive support, get on-the-job training. And I really want to be clear, actually, about that overall position, which is that we are committed to ensuring people have the support that they need. But we are also very keen to help more disabled people into employment where that is right for them. And we have seen some good success with this. So, for example, we'd set a 10-year goal of wanting to see 1 million more people in work, more disabled people in work, and in fact exceeded that within 5 years, which is really exciting progress because, as we say, many disabled people do want to work and they deserve the same opportunities as everybody else. So this scheme is a way to contribute to more progress on that front. We want to be able to help, as you say, around 2,000 people across the country. Now that's going as widely as from Norfolk to Pembrokeshire, from Southampton to County Durham, and across England and Wales, we've got these schemes which will work with the local community to be able to help people into a placement that is right for them.
I agree with you, Minister. In my experience, many disabled people not only want to work, but have a huge amount to contribute to the workplace. But sometimes we must be honest here, there is a little bit of pushback from employers, isn't there? What can the government do? What can we all do to break through that?
Well, actually, I see no need for any such push at all, any such pushback at all, because actually employers are looking for talent right now. Employers have record numbers of vacancies that they need to have filled. That is what growth in our economy looks like and has to feel like and has to consist of. And so what we want to do here is help employers to see that there's a wealth of talent that they might not yet have looked at in terms of people with disabilities or in terms of people, for example, with long-term health conditions who, as you say, have a huge amount to offer, who want to work in many cases. Now, we can help do all of this. So my department is all about making sure there is that support on both sides. First of all, to the job seeker there, but secondly, also to employers. So, for example, I'd encourage employers to look at our Disability Confidence Scheme and also our Access to Work Scheme, both of which can help employers take that step in getting fresh talent into the workplace. And fundamentally, it's about helping disabled people to start and stay and succeed in work just like anybody else.
A lot of people will applaud what this initiative, Minister. I have to say, though, as a sort of money man, 7.6 million quid, in the grand scheme of public spending, it is pocket change, isn't it? How can we make this funding permanent? How can we build on this funding?
Well, look, you're right to point out that this is a small and targeted scheme. I don't think that anyone's hiding that. This is indeed a focused scheme that is about those with learning disabilities, for example, autism. And that means that we are really focusing that funding via local authorities on helping, as we say, around 2,000 people. Now, actually, what that means is it's to the tune of £5,000 worth of support per person. And that is what you need to make a difference. That is enough to give that person job coaching support, give that person a placement, give that person training. All of these things make an enormous difference in somebody's life. This is a person's life we're talking about, and that is the, a scheme that we know can make a difference. Indeed, we've seen it work in other countries. For example, Canada and the US also have similar schemes. We've also tested it here in this country in pilot form, and now we're making it larger. But I do also just want to say that you are right. Actually, what we also do is a much broader set of support for job seekers, and including within that disabled job seekers. So in the last spending review, we've just set out that actually we want to be able to spend £1.3 billion on support for disabled job seekers. Now that is, of course, the bigger picture, and this scheme is a targeted scheme within that.
Minister, thank you for your time. I'll be keeping an eye on this funding and whether or not it grows. Chloe Smith there, Minister for Disabled People, Health and Work, and Tory MP for Norwich North. It's time now for my daily interview series, Money Talks. Social media is vital, of course, to many businesses. Unless your firm's on Instagram, LinkedIn and all the rest of them, it somehow feels out of date and you could well be losing customers. For some of us, marketing online comes naturally, tapping into our natural creativity. And one such woman is Amelia Sordell, a social media guru who started her own personal branding business during the pandemic lockdown with zero investment. The business is now growing strongly and making money, turning over £1 million after accumulating over 100,000 followers, to whom Amelia offers free advice to those trying to build their own online brand. The company Clout with a K has helped lots of businesses grow and stand out from the rest by using social media. So here she is with me in the studio, the personal branding expert, Amelia Sordell, my latest guest on Money Talks. Amelia, great to have you in the studio. We love welcoming people that create businesses, particularly young people who create businesses. It was lockdown, you're probably in your tracky bottoms, probably spending a bit too, getting up late like all the rest of us. What made you start a business?
God, I think like a lot of people, I was sitting in the four walls of my home with my two crazy children who were also going insane. And I thought, like, is this really my life? Like, do I really want to be doing this, the rat race, working for someone else for the rest of my life? And so had a bit of a moment of madness, quit my job on a Friday, decided to start, safe job as well, I was about to get promoted into. Started my business on a Monday, and by Thursday had my first 2 clients. And it's all been from
It's all about belief?
Yeah. Well, it's
backing yourself?
It is backing yourself, but also I'd started building my personal brand already up to that point, which I think is a really important point.
So you're already quite into social media,
I was.
Instagram and TikTok, I guess, and all the other stuff. That
TikTok's a recent addition, but
recent,
LinkedIn definitely.
Yeah.
So in my prior role, I was helping businesses and founders of those businesses build their own personal brands because I could see the value of people buying from people, right?
Yeah.
We all know people do business with people. It's why you're sitting here today, because people want to speak to you and hear what you think. That's how we all buy things. So I could already see that way was going, like in marketing was going that way. And then the pandemic happened and all of a sudden we were sitting at home scrolling through our phones, just desperate for some kind of connection with someone. So it made sense to me that I should start a business to help founders reach the people that they want to reach who are currently sitting at home scrolling through their phones.
So say if I was a 55-year-old small business owner sitting at home watching On the Money with Liam Halligan on GBNews. Not only would I be very clever in my viewing habits, but I might be thinking about my business. And here I see a young woman into social media. I may still be thinking, social media? I don't need social media. What would you say to them?
Look, I get a lot of those, so we'd be in good company. I think the reality is this, right? If you're running a business, sales is your bloodline, right? You need to make as much money as possible so then you can pay your staff, so then you can profits, etc. The reality is you only have 24 hours in a day. You only have 24 hours in a day. Your sales team only have 24 hours in a day. So there's only so many phone calls, so many connections you can make in that time. Social media enables you to have an infinite number of conversations, like forever, right? I can reach millions of people with just one tweet, with just one LinkedIn post. To reach 1 million people over the phone, that would take more than my lifetime.
So a business owner who's a bit older, even if they've no interest in social media themselves, their business really does need social media, and they're seriously missing a trick if they don't have social media.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about having a website, is it? It's about using the likes of Twitter, using the likes of LinkedIn, Instagram, and many other applications to get your name and the link to your website out there.
Absolutely. And to kind of touch on that point, it's not just about being on every channel. It's a bit about being on the channels that your customer is on, right? So if your business sells B2B, you're much more...
Business to business.
Correct. You're much better off in being on LinkedIn because other businesses are on that platform, right? If you're selling to consumers and it's a, you know, I don't know, like a makeup product or something that people would buy and have in their homes, then potentially potentially Instagram or TikTok might be better for you. So it's not just about being on social media. It's about understanding where your customer is and then going to your customer where they spend most of their time, which is on their phone. But back to your earlier question about, you know, if you're a 50-year-old bloke who's sitting there thinking, why should I be on this social media thing?
Not that I'm a 50-year-old bloke.
And how should I do it? I think the first and foremost thing is people need to understand that, as I said earlier, people buy from people. You as an individual have 10x the reach of your company brand online. Leads brought in through the founder's personal brand convert 7 times more frequently. You get your brand messages when you share them as a founder are reshared 24 times more frequently than from your company social. So I'm not saying personal branding as in marketing yourself as a founder versus marketing your business replaces company branding. But if you're looking for quick wins and you want to get, you know, some business through the door and people knowing who your business is, it's much easier to do that by infiltrating communities as the founder than from the company brand, which is what my company does.
So you traded your tracky bottoms maybe for, you know, a nice suit or whatever.
Pink suit.
You got yourself a couple of clients quite early. That gave you the confidence, and you're now turning over
a decent amount of money. Yeah.
Pretty serious money.
Yeah,
and
we have an office in Covent Garden. We've got a team of 11. We've done that in less than 24 months. So.
And are you going to keep those physical offices, or because we spoke to a 360 law firm earlier this week, a law firm that is turning over huge amounts of money. They have no offices whatsoever, but you feel you need offices. You need that sort of creative spark.
Yeah, I'm a startup, right? Yeah. I was having this conversation, interestingly, with someone recently who's a friend, and he runs a huge agency. Like, they're global, they have hundreds and hundreds of members of staff, and they've gone remote, and they have these hubs where people can come and work if they want to, right? But for me, that's not going to work because my business is brand new. Like, we don't have a culture yet, so we have to build one together. Yeah. And I think that's impossible to do that exclusively from home. And to be honest, I appreciate this is biased, but why on earth would you want to sit at home for your entire life? Like, I want to be with people. I want to communicate. I want to collaborate. And also, you've got to think of the knowledge sharing, right? You learn so much from osmosis and being in an office and just listening to people's conversations. You don't get that from home.
Yeah. So what's the future? How big could Clout be? Good name.
Clout, yeah, everyone says that, thanks. Anyone would think I was in
Clout was a band when I was a kid. It was a kind of all-girl band that were pretty big for a while. I don't think it was spelt K-L-O-W-T though. But it's a good name because you got Clout, right?
Got Clout, yeah. That's
what's the dream, as Simon Cowell says?
The dream is to be. I always say to people, I see the kind of vision for the business as being a department store. So you come to us to blow your brand up online. I want to be able to do podcasts, do PR, do your social media, do your speaking gigs, do your talent gigs. I want to be the IMG of founders and entrepreneurs, basically. And we all know how big IMG is. It's $1 billion business. And I think it's really important to say as well, because I was listening to your segment earlier, I got terrible grades at A-level. Awful. And I'm sitting here now having built a business. I was 30 when I started it, 32 in next week, and have done, you know, good things, I think, so far. You don't need to worry too much about your grades. And again, your university segment, I think university is a completely broken system, but maybe we can talk about that another time.
Well, Amelia Sordell, founder of Clout, my latest guest on Money Talks. I wouldn't bet against you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Very nice to see you here on The Money. That was Amelia Sordell, and I'm afraid that's all we've got time for today, but join me tomorrow at 1 p.m. for Fridays on The Money. We'll continue focusing on the cost of living crisis, helping you to beat the squeeze. Thanks for joining me today. This is GB News. I'm Liam Halligan, and that was On The Money.
Hi there, Aidan McGibbon here with the latest forecast from the Met Office. A lot of cloud across the UK today, and that cloud bringing some outbreaks of rain towards the west. But in the south and the southeast, it's mostly dry, just a few showers, certainly a lot calmer compared with recent day's activities. A weather front is moving into west and northwestern areas. That's bringing the thicker cloud and some showery outbreaks of rain. So for Scotland and Northern Ireland, it's already been a damp start, and that rain now moving into northern England, North and West Wales, and some of it turning up into Cornwall later. Most of it's light and on and off. It will be more moderate over hills, and it will be turning more showery later. A few showers also in East Anglia, but these not as heavy as recent days. Sunshine in between, 26 Celsius the high in the southeast, with low 20s further north and northwest, or high teens. Some moderate to heavy showers crossing Scotland overnight, and then the main area of rain pushes into central and southern parts of the UK. Again, turning more showery, some heavy downpours by the morning, particularly towards East Anglia. 17 Celsius in the southeast, so reasonably warm, but clearer spells further northwest, and so a fresher night to come, and further showers arriving into central and western Scotland, Northern Ireland by dawn. Those showers also affecting northwest England by the end of the morning. Any early rain clears out of the way from East Anglia in the southeast, though, and so for the southern half of the UK, it's mostly dry by the afternoon with sunny spells, feeling warm in that sunshine, low to mid-20s, whilst 18 to 21 Celsius more likely for Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England, with a freshening breeze later on Friday and some strong winds in the west of Scotland overnight as we start the weekend. Further showers coming along as well, but mostly dry to the south, and actually it's mostly dry on Saturday in southern parts of the UK, with further showers and a blustery breeze further north. Sunday starts dry with rain later.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me! And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge and also